In this episode, Dr. Rob and Cory Davis dive deep into vitamins and mineral supplements. Are they good or bad? They dive into the manufacturing process and really give you an idea of what is the real difference between synthetic or food or other types of nutrients within the natural health industry.
Interesting place for fermentation to exist in the supplement industry beyond probiotics and these kind of new foods. And there's two classes that I want us to focus on here at the end. One is herbs, right? And we can go into that into depth. The other is the biotransformation of vitamins. And that's something I think that less people are aware of. And I think that's some deep, heady stuff. Rob, where do you feel, okay, let's start with the vitamin piece. I just think that's so much vitamins. So to back up, if you don't already know, and if you've been watching our show or listening, you probably picked up on the fact that there are basically two classes of vitamins that exist. The vast majority that are sold to you and to the market in general, also to animals in feed and your pets, onto these energy beverages that you see when you see vitamins in there. Those are all a class of what's called synthetic vitamins. So they are synthesized either strictly from petroleum byproducts, or they're chemically extracted from foods in ways that make them nowhere near food that you would eat on a regular basis.
Agreed.
Then there are actual food nutrients that come from processing foods, typically with water. Sometimes it could be solvents, but these are typically very safe, holistic ways to treat the food that you can extract nutrients from them. It's a whole different argument whether or not those nutrients are the same as food. If you've also tuned in our previous shows, you realize Rob and I are pro-food every time. If there was an equation of get this much beta-carotene from food versus this much beta-carotene from supplements, we would choose food 10 out of 10 times. Given that, people are going to consume vitamins, and they're going to consume synthetic vitamins. There was a technology that was invented sometime a couple decades ago that basically was a way to take these synthetic nutrients and biotransform them, if you will, and the whole food vitamin was born. And of course, there were other whole food vitamins like cod liver oil, containing your vitamin A, E, and D oftentimes. But as far as B vitamins go and your vitamin A's and things like that, typically found in, your vitamin E's from beta carotene, synthetic was kind of the only way to go for a very long time. So this was a neat innovation that has yielded a class of multivitamins that a lot of companies will sell as whole food multivitamins. I would argue that these are not whole food multivitamins, that they should be called what they really are. They are cultured or fermented chemicals. Synthetic nutrients. Yeah,
fermented
isolates.
Chemicals. That's what they are.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep, they're fermented chemicals. Plain and simple. I think it's fascinating that I've been fascinated by the process, and I am still fascinated by it from the standpoint that, like, when you put fertilizer on the ground, if you put vitamins and minerals in the soil, nothing will happen. The only reason why anything happens and why plants are able to take it up is because of bacterial fermentation, right? So the bacteria, they will essentially they'll take those nutrients, consume them, right? So you have like vitamins, some mineral, magnesium, or a nutrient like vitamin, I don't know, B6 or something. The bacteria will literally engulf it and transform it into like some kind of active form and incorporate into its, I don't know, like a cellular structure or something. So at that point, it's maybe like food in the sense that it's part of that bacteria or yeast now, just as if you'd eat that in like yogurt or kimchi or sauerkraut or whatever. But at the same time, you're feeding that bacteria or yeast a chemical. You're not putting them on a medium of like apple or some food medium. Really, you're giving them a soup of chemicals and hoping they assimilate it. And it's also interesting.
And also yeast and fungus also are part of this process. So we rely on nature basically, to convert our chemicals into where you're going with this.
Yeah, and the other side of it too is that they can only assimilate so much of it. So the saturation level of the bacteria yeast is very, very low. So I didn't get this is actually from Dr. David Wong, ND. He told me this that when he really investigated it, they found that the saturation for bacteria and yeast, like for vitamins versus minerals, are somewhere between like 5 and 20%. So like 5% or so for minerals and about 20% for vitamins. And once you get over that, you end up killing the bacteria and yeast because they're chemicals. Bacteria and yeast do not thrive on the nutrients. So you can't create like a food multivitamin with ferment, like a biotransformation process. It's kind of like a gimmick. Yeah. Is it better than giving somebody like a synthetic created in lab vitamin, like a DL version of a vitamin E? Probably. It is different, but is it the same thing as giving them a source of like annatto seeds or something for like food? Not even in the same universe, not even in the same, you know, forget paying a little bit more for it. You could pay double, triple, 10 times as much and it's so worth it. It's not even in the same, you know, solar system, really. Like really, it's just, it's so beyond, in my opinion.
Well, here's one. So these companies will market it as saying they have the cofactors. Cofactors are something that kind of disrupted the supplement industry, let's say in the 90s and the 2000s. It was all about cofactors are really important.
Yeah, every multivitamin company in the world has cofactors. I mean, that's just a vitamin. It's a vitamin. That's it. That's a cofactor. I mean, congratulations. You have a cofactor. Great. You know, go get some Captain Crunch and they fortify it with cofactors just for you. I mean, you know. So, but in this class of multivitamin, where let's say they take synthetic ascorbic acid and they feed it to yeast, and then they also add things like CoQ10, I don't know, let's say other cofactors, or that there are cofactors created during this fermentation. That's beneficial, but you don't get the same cofactors. You're just getting basically the same byproducts of fermentation with every vitamin as a cofactor. Not if you were to eat an amla, or a natto or something like this. Those cofactors are what you find. You're not really getting food. You're getting poisoned bacteria and poisoned yeast.
Nice.
And most of these whole food vitamins, what they do is they have some fermented foods and fermented herbs in them, in addition to the poisoned yeast. That's what I'm going to refer to it from now on. It really is. It's you're poisoning yeast to the point that you're just not killing them yet. And then you're putting in proteolytic enzymes to take apart the cell wall of the yeast and exploiting the insides and calling it a food. And then you're mixing that with a little bit of foods that are fermented along the process and a little bit of herbs that are fermented along the process. And both of those do have benefit, but when it's like in a tablet, in context to magnitude, you're getting so little of those two that you're way, 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 way better off eating cultured food in your diet, or getting something, having it in like a powdered form. If you're getting like a cultured whole food in a powdered form, or just a whole food, like a freeze-dried whole food in powder form, it's way, 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 way better.
Yes.
So I'm very fascinated, and I love the fact that they incorporate whole foods into the multis, or whole herbs, fermented herbs in with the multis. That's a huge innovation over what used to be.
Yeah.
But is it the best? No, not even close.
Nor should it be marketed as whole food. That's the problem, right?
I agree.
Marketers ruin everything. To quote one of our favorite marketing gurus.
This guy right here, yes.
Here's a perfect instance of that, where like nature is like, hey, look, I made these great whole foods. And then marketers said, well, we can't make money off of that. So let's create chemical isolate vitamins, and then let's feed them to yeast, which are kind of like food. I mean, we eat yeast, right? And then add other foods to them and all these other chemical components, and then stabilize it with pH balancers and anti-foaming agents and whatever else.
Yeah. And
then call that thing whole food that was, in our mind, equivalent to the thing that's growing on the tree. So I hate to invoke blaming the marketers, but they really did a mess. When I think you're undoing it here. Let's call it what it really is. Let's call it poisoned yeast multi with added food to it.
And to some of these companies' credits, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to solve both sides of the equation. When you're trying to market a whole food formula, right, as like a multivitamin, consumers are trained to be looking right at the milligram dosage. So that's how they think they're savvy. They're just way, way too late. That was, 10, 15 years ago, where you would look and be like, the B6 isn't really as high as the other guy, so I'm going to go with the other guy, or whatever. You were slowly, we've trained society to think about dosage of multivitamins, of isolated nutrients, regardless of the form, synthetic, natural, whatever. And so I think these whole food companies, one of their biggest objections from the consumer and from retailers was, there's so little B6 in this whole food. I can't compete against this. It's so expensive. You're selling the organic whole food at a premium, but it contains very little B6 in terms of milligrams.
Yeah.
I'd rather just sell this B100 complex for $11.99 or whatever. And consumers are asking for it. So that's the objection. So now what these companies have done is they've sort of created both worlds where they're introducing some whole food, some herbs with that fermentation tagline on it, which is very interesting, with then these biotransformed nutrients. And, there's still merit. I mean, I think, like for digestive health and for immune health, you're probably, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say you might experience some great benefits from taking a product like that. I mean, I'm not recommending it to anybody, but I think you might see some great products. But when it comes to, let's say, a lifestyle change in order to incorporate more fruits and vegetables into your diet in terms of like hopefully reducing chronic disease risk or making a difference in terms of how you nourish your stress response or something more complex, inflammation and so forth, you're not going to see as much on those. You're better to get like a freeze-dried whole food product or something like that. That's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm with you 100%. Yeah. It's rare to find a multivitamin. Okay. I'll just say this. It's impossible to create a multivitamin that can replace nature. And that's the whole definition of a supplement anyway, right? Like that's what we often lose track of is these are supposed to supplement a healthy diet. Supplements are not meant to like, oh, I'm taking a multivitamin. I can eat whatever I want and feel like I can get away with it. So I'm pro supplementation. Rob is too when it comes down to true deficiency.